Good morning. I'm higher vibrations and so are you. And it's time to go over the ascension symptoms that most of us and many of us are experiencing right now. An ascension symptom can be qualified as a symptom of ascending, and often what we find in our ability to really validate one another and kind of like seeing that so many are going through the same thing all at the same time usually has to do with physical symptoms, but that's not always the case. There are experiences where we're coming online telepathically in a more real way. We're having the ability to perceive things that we couldn't see before. As we raise in our frequency, the things that are resonating at the same frequency that we are now in view is what that really is. So we're seeing a lot of like light orbs and some people who hadn't seen auras before are starting to see auras now. Things like that are also ascension symptoms. Though, if you're experiencing a variety of physical things and you feel the need to see a doctor, I suggest that you do so. This is not medical advice at all. This is something that a lot of us are going through. However, I'm speaking from my own experience. One of the things that hasn't really stopped since all of this has really started to come into light as ascension symptoms has been the ear ringing. The ear ringing has been occurring for quite some time, but in a more intense kind of way over the past few years. And now I don't know if there's different octaves and it sounds beautiful. So it's not as disruptive to me. So I don't often consider it as much as I did before, or before it felt very invasive in a way, or just it was loud enough I couldn't hear anything else. And that's something else that often happens. As one ear is ringing, the other one will have like that underwater kind of dulled sound ability. That's something that's pretty common. Dizziness is another really common one, and I still have spells of it. Not nearly as bad as I did the last summer, but they're definitely a significant thing in all of our lives. Right now it seems like that's a real common thread experience that we're all having. And along with that, there's a lot of like out of body energy where it feels like almost like half of you is vacant, or part of your soul or your energy isn't completely within your body. There's parts of, like for me, usually it's my lower half of my body just kind of feels like it's someplace else. With the crown chakra activation stuff that has been going back and forth for a while, there's this sensation at the top of the head that fluctuates. It's very interesting. It's really cool. Nothing to be alarmed about. It's just noticing a sensation. Your elbows in the top of your head is something that we can't actually sense without touching it and making contact with it, unless there's some type of injury. And starting to feel the sensation of the top of the crown of my head is without pain, is very interesting. Other stuff around the head, we're having a lot of headaches. The headaches have been really weird. Like I'll have like the sinus stuff, like the sinus, something's moving through kind of experience, as well as in the ears and like in the ear canal, but connected to the sinuses. There's popping and clicking sounds within the ear, as well as just general pressure and some type of discomfort associated with the sinuses. Other kind of headaches are like the vice grip headaches that just kind of like, but then it like goes. If for me, in my experience, it's been very fleeting. I also have like the ice pick one. I use the pencil as an example, but it feels like something is going in and out, and like from about this point. And when that occurs, it definitely it's very uncomfortable. It's a headache, but something's moving through, and usually it's very quick. By the time that it makes its way out, the energies pass through at that spot, then the sensation is relieved. But it is definitely something that's a common occurrence, as well as temple related pain. And I've been noticing a lot of third eye lately. And again, it's one of those, for me, in my experience, it's very short lived, it's fleeting, but it's common, it's frequent. When those experiences happen, I I try to remember to go into meditation because historically, I was given headaches. I feel very strongly that the reason is I was being guided to go into a place of meditation. And I find that controlling my breathing, aligning my chakras does help for those types of headaches. And they do go quickly. Sending love, energy, frequency to it also is a very helpful thing. The hives and rashes over our body has been really uncomfortable, and it's just kind of progressed for a while, and at first I didn't know that was an ascension symptom. I knew there was something happening, and I just didn't realize it was associated. But there are so many people who are having it all simultaneously all over the planet. That's something that's so beautiful about these Zoom calls, is that what we do 3 times a week, different times. Please check my community section for updates on that. It's always free, and you're invited to join. Just a bunch of starseeds, light warriors, empaths on this journey of awakening that are just kind of comparing notes, but mostly just being in a space with others that understand them. It's really cool. And leaving that there's a recharge of the soul experience that happens. It's just beautiful. And in those calls, I've been hearing a lot of other people talking about these rashes, and they're kind of like hives, and they're almost eczema in a way, because you want to itch them, scratch them really bad, because they're really itchy. But just trying to avoid it's really hard. Using lotions and oils and stuff like that. Mostly on the legs, moving from the upper leg down to the lower leg. It's kind of a weird phenomenon that's occurring right now. Along with the itching thing, by the way, when we feel itching palms as well as the soles of the feet, a lot of times those have been happening lately a lot. We have a lot of chakras. We know we are, as a culture, we tend to be very aware of 7, and that kind of stops there. But there's a lot of chakras, and they're all over everything and everyone. And then within our biosphere but the 144 are very close to us in our sphere. And so those ones, as they are starting to come online, along with our DNA, the junk DNA, the 95% of our DNA, of our genome that's been considered to be junk, has been dormant DNA that's now coming online. Many children are being born with this DNA already activated, though for us, there's a process for these things to turn on. And simultaneously, our chakras are also being activated, the ones we haven't been using. And so I find that itchiness tends to be like a symptom of it, or like a, hey, just so you know, this is what's happening to you right now kind of a thing. And it's not just like the surface of your skin. It's like that deep, like an injury being healed. You feel the scar, this being healed, the scab being healed inside, deep down. Throat-related stuff's really common right now, and that's been a chakra that's been coming online for a lot of people. Many of us have spent who knows how many lifetimes not having the ability to speak our truth. Whether we were stopped in the middle of doing it or too afraid to do it due to consequence, whatever the case may be. And so now all of a sudden we're able to start to actually speak openly about these things. Heart palpitations, speaking of the collective, we're feeling a lot of the people who are waking up right now, and also those who are not. And so we're feeling some of these unpleasant experiences. Heart palpitations don't always have to do with that. Often that's when we're getting an upgrade. We're getting solar flare energy coming in, and Schumann resonance like spikes from Gaia that's assisting us to raise this vibration space and activate certain parts of us. Also, heart palpitations are something that have to do with the anxiety that we're feeling from this collective experience. And as people wake up, and then it kind of turns into like this all of a sudden you feel really heavy. That's been happening like a couple of days ago. It was really intense for me and quite a few other people, it sounds like, where it just felt like I was hit upside the head with depression is the best way to describe it. It was such a bizarre phenomenon, being in the middle of this beautiful light energy, and then all of a sudden just whoa, and just suddenly just real heavy energy and just real, ugh. It was really a hard day that day. And then the next day, in the morning on that Friday, I guess it was at that time, it started to feel like grief and mourning, saying goodbye to an old enemy that would been in interaction with you for a really, really long time. Enemy's not even the right word, but something that was been in conflict. Even if it's not something that's harmonious to us, if it's been in our life for very long, if it's been in our experience and our energy space for some time, there is a goodbye energy that occurs there. And that was definitely intense and difficult for me to experience. If you notice the energy come in like that, it's really useful to just try to go into a meditative state as best as you can and just send out I love yous. You can say it with your voice or just say it with your heart. The I love you energy, send it out. And it really does alleviate it. If you feel like you're too deep, I have a playlist on my channel here called Higher Frequency Music or something similar to that. I'll put the link there. That's for, just when I can't do it myself. It's high frequency energy, high frequency music rather, and it brings in that light and kind of gives me the leg up, and that really helps. A lot of this has to do with pulling this energy that's been within this planet, in this space for quite some time. That energy, it doesn't serve us any longer. And not only that, I don't think it wants to be here anymore either. It's ready to go. And it kind of needs to move through and up something and someone. And we are conduits that are, in essence, drawing this energy out, like with a syringe from the planet and releasing it. And it's moving through us in some cases. And when we feel that, know that that's not you. You're not being attacked. You're not. It's these flashes of things that you're seeing is simply, they're the things that were ignored. Because everything needs to be seen. If it's not seen, it kind of is imprisoned in its kind of lingering space. And so as the stuff comes through, simply to acknowledge it without judgment and to release it. Don't hold on to that energy and don't own it, but simply know that it's a temporary thing and that it's moving through you. A lot of sleep disruption kind of stuff where, it's, you're like in between sleep and waking more than normal. And that's been happening kind of frequently where it just kind of feels like you're almost awake, but not quite throughout the night. I used to call that the netherworld. When I was sick, that would be the place that I would dream in. And there's been a lot more of that lately. As well as like the nights that you don't notice that and you feel like that you have gone to sleep early enough that you should be sufficiently rested when you wake. But no, waking after a good night's sleep, supposedly feeling exhausted, needing a nap from sleeping, and also having an increase in lucid dreaming. At least remembering your dreams more completely than before has been a really interesting experience for a lot of people. Torso experiences, so those chakras are coming on as well as we're doing the conduit thing. So the energy's moving through us and, those chakras that are turning on, we have like 5 in our stomach that's coming online right now. And so that's causing a lot of discomfort. There's some kind of poking feelings, a little bit of an electrical charge here and there, almost like being shocked with static electricity. Nothing to, you're okay. It butterflies, the feeling of like that excited energy within your stomach's really been a thing that's been happening a lot too. And that's a space of creation. That's where we create. There's this creation energy space that exists there. And it's becoming more, the muscle is being worked. And so that's just calling us to remember that we are the creators of our experience and kind of helping you upgrade in that ability. Something that's not been really all that exciting and happy is these weird, I think it's a lot to do with, as I was saying before, those people who are waking up and we're kind of feeling and sensing them, where we start to feel this irritability, this frustration, and this anger. Like it seems like it's obvious that it's not mine, and it's in bursts, and it comes without warning, and it's very uncomfortable, and then it goes. You know, the release of it is amazing as it releases. It's a really awesome sensation when it's gone. And then, you know, the thirst stuff, like I've been talking about the increased need for water. Please don't forget your water. Drink plenty of water, people. Water really helps us, especially right now as this plasma is trying to move through us. But then on top of it, I'm noticing a change in that even more so than before, where I'm just constantly thirsty, like I can't catch up, kind of a feeling of just often always thirsty, you know, and then appetite. You know, I've gone through, just like all of you, some really strange changes over the years. You know, I came online as a carnivore, eating processed foods and canned drinks and all that stuff, and now I'm not. And not only that, but I go through periods of time of unplanned fasting. I tend to eat in a way that's called intermittent fasting, where I don't eat breakfast or lunch. And it's not because I'm not going to eat this meal. It's just my body's not wanting it. Sometimes I will eat those meals when my body calls me to do so. But and then just watching as your body slowly changes the things that it wants to eat. You know, all of a sudden your favorite foods, the things that you prefer, are no longer palatable. And then things that you really don't eat are suddenly something that your body's craving. You know, if you can, get those things. So your body needs those minerals and those vitamins and those things. You know, and then also hot and cold flashes. We're having those hot and cold flash experiences. And, you know, it's not just at night, and it's very, very strange. Like I could feel really cold and my hands will be hot. Like my hands are constantly hot now. Like I can never cool my hands off. And all of this stuff is like we're coming back out of hibernation, okay? Like we have been here for a long time, and we came through this energy to be in this space, this beautiful space. And now it's time to wake up. And that's why at the beginning of these videos I say good morning, because we are waking up. Good morning to you. This isn't very easy. This is pretty hard sometimes, and some of it really feels uncomfortable. But know that it's temporary, and that you're not alone. And we thank you so much for your service. You got this together. I hope you're having a lovely journey. Sending you so much love. Aho blessings.